Holy crap, Jason. It's episode 99
It is.
of the DG podcast. Unceremoniously, we're jumping right into this.
What ceremony? You've never stood on ceremony before?
Yeah, well.
We can have a fanfare later.
We could. We could.
But we'll save it. Actually, this episode 99 reminds me. I was at the A&W. I don't remember how long ago it was. It was this year, though. And we were eating lunch there, and I looked at this sign that they had that said that they were offering root beer mugs, commemorative root beer mugs for their 99th year of operation. And I looked over at my father-in-law, who I was eating lunch with, and I said, "Really? 99?
That's not 100?
Yeah. Why not just wait 1 year and give us 100 years? It didn't make any sense to me. But, we should wait and have the fanfare for the 100th rather than that,
Yeah. Let's throw an intro in here and talk about stuff.
Hey, you guys!
All right. What has your week been up to?
Well, I've been reading, haven't been playing a lot of video games. I finished a book by one of my favorite authors at the moment, Simon Green, and I'm starting another, but I've been actually watching I found this YouTube channel called Watch Mojo, and so I've been watching a lot of their videos. They do top 10 lists.
Yeah, they do.
That's basically all they do.
That is all they do. They get their notoriety off of just repeatedly. And sometimes they put out top 10 lists that are just stupid. Yeah, anyway.
They do. Some of them have been pretty good. I like the ones about, like the top 10 movie swords, I think it was, and top 10 fantasy weapons and things. Although I didn't like the number 1 fantasy weapon that they gave. It was like, or it was maybe a video game weapon. I forget which one it was, but it was the blue turtle shell from Mariokart. Like, really? You couldn't come up with anything better than that for number 1?
Gosh. The blue turtle shell.
Everybody hates the blue turtle shell.
Well,
when they don't have it.
Well, see, there are some things most people don't know about racing in Mario Kart, which is why it makes it funner. When you're in the top places, you move slightly slower than the people behind you, giving people the opportunity to catch up. When you're in front, your drops, whenever you pick up an item, are usually like bananas. Right.
Because everybody's behind you. It doesn't do any good for you to shoot a turtle shell in front of you.
Yeah, sometimes green, turtle shell, sometimes. Yeah. But your odds of getting stuff are mostly bananas or those fake sort of like item pickup things. When you're if you're in last place, your odds of picking up the blue turtle shell are extremely high. And what this does is it gives a huge amount of power to the last place player to kill the first place player. And some people theorize that if you're going for a winning strategy in the game, you want to sit mid or close to the top until you get to that last lap and then just blow through to get to the first. Right. Because the first player is always getting all the blue turtle shells and everybody's gunning for him.
Right.
Is it a pure great racing thing for the game? Probably not, but I actually really like the way they build it because it keeps it more tense, because then you don't have one guy out there like 30 laps ahead just destroying everybody else on the track.
That makes sense why it always seems like you're blowing ahead of everybody. Everybody's in your rear view mirror, but somehow you slip on like an oil slick or somebody nails you with a turtle shell or something, and suddenly everyone's flying past you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That whole thing is, you're moving slightly slower than everybody else. I always hated that about those kind of racing games where you're like, you've got a lead, you've got a commanding lead, but you can't hold it. One mistake and everybody's flying past you.
It's one of those games where you just have to fight with stuff. But yeah.
Yep.
Anything else?
I wonder if the other racing games work similarly. Not really. So this salamander that I caught, right?
Uh-huh.
I feed it goldfish. It's what they have at Petsmart. I actually went to go pick up some food for it, and they had absolutely zero goldfish at Petsmart. And usually, because they actually keep the goldfish in there for people who have like turtles and other fish that eat fish, they usually have hundreds of goldfish.
Right.
And it turns out the place that they bought the goldfish from sent them ones with an infection, and it killed all of them.
I didn't tell this story. I don't think I've told this story on the podcast before, but I have a horrible story to share.
Okay.
I don't think I've shared this story before. So I worked at Walmart for 4 years.
Uh-huh.
And they had a promotion one day. It was during the summer at some time where they were giving away free goldfish to children just for the heck of it.
Okay.
For fun. And they had just huge loads of goldfish. And they got this giant kiddie pool to put them all in. So when kids came up, they could give away the goldfish, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, it was a surprisingly hot day that day.
Okay.
And in the back behind Walmart in this kiddie pool where they kept, we're talking hundreds of goldfish in this pool.
Uh-huh.
The sun got so hot, it baked and killed them. And we're talking hundreds of dead goldfish. Like, I went out back and the guy that was out there trying to deal with it was like fishing out like bucketfuls of dead goldfish.
Oh, wow.
Having been baked in the pool behind Walmart.
Oh, wow. That's awful.
It was pretty freaking... It was hilarious despite the fact it was just terrible. But yeah. It was a thing. It was a thing. Reminds
Other
me
than
of
that,
goldfish.
Really enjoying my books. What about you? Anything new?
I've been playing a lot of Shadows of Mordor. I've been playing that to take a break from Bloodborne. I'll probably jump back into it. I've been playing it, Shadows of Mordor, a lot, where I'm getting all the little collectibles and stuff, and I'm really having a lot of fun. Stealth games like that are kind of my forte. There are a few games I play a lot of, some strategy games as well as stealth games. Those are sort of my jam, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
And so it definitely plays into my wheelhouse, and definitely something I'm into. So I've been digging it like crazy, and playing a lot of it. Other than that, me and Lindsay, we've been keeping up on Gotham. We just watched the last episode, and there's one more left in the series. And Gotham is done for. At least for the first season.
Okay. I was going to say, it seems pretty popular. That's kind of weird that they would cancel it after one season.
It's pretty freaking popular. Other than that, Lindsay graduates tomorrow. And though it's all, yay, graduation and stuff, I hate going to those stupid things.
Oh, no kidding.
It's like I'm there for her, but it's just going to piss me off.
Well, you have to sit through all the speeches. Everybody has to walk across the frickin' stage. Yeah, it's...
Well, like I was telling Lindsay, if it was legally okay, I would literally bring, like, Rotten Tomatoes to one of those things. And when one of those pretentious douchebags get up there and start talking about, like, looking towards the future and creating a better tomorrow and progress and
he's
whatever.
The first one that gets a tomato.
Oh no, not just like the first. Like, I'm aiming for his eyes. I don't want him to see anymore unless it's Rotten Tomato. Like I hate those speeches. I hate the people who give those speeches.
No kidding.
I didn't go to my graduation for high school because I hated my high school and they pissed me off. And I went in there to get my diploma because they're like, oh, we just have it here. So I just went in there and got it. They just handed it to me and I walked out. I was like, screw this place.
I went to my high school graduation, but the only other graduation that I went to was my most recent one for my PhD, and I didn't go through for me.
Yeah, for the other people.
I went through for my family because they wanted to see me do it. If it had been left up to me, I would have just had them send me my diploma in the mail, and I could care less about walking across the stage and having people hand me stuff.
Like,
just don't care.
Literally, they're not worth my time.
Right.
Like, the
Completely
stupid,
get it.
full of themselves game that they're playing, they're not worth my time to play it. To just go.
I kind of got that, that was the learning experience I got from my high school graduation ceremony. I'm like, really? I graduate and I'm going to put myself through that again? No, thanks.
I just hate it. It's stupid.
Yeah, I can get that. So you'll be going to Lindsay's ceremony tomorrow then?
Yeah, I just think they're stupid.
One of the nice things that I don't know if they're doing this for the college or not, but one of the nice things that I noticed in years past, like when my wife graduated or whatnot, they don't have a graduation ceremony for the entire university. That would be purgatory, worse than purgatory.
I hate it. Kids who are full of themselves think more of themselves than they really should. It pisses me off. I hate going to those things. And I've been to so many things that Lindsay wants me to go to that I hate doing. Going to dinner parties, pretentious, wealthy people things where they celebrate each other and pat each other on the back for donating scholarships to kids. This one, social gathering for people for vet school, which I thought was just the most pretentious piece of crap thing I've ever done. I hated it. It pissed me off. I was literally sitting there just ornery the whole time. I behaved because she needed to get to vet school, but she's in now. Screw those people.
Seriously. Yeah.
But whatever. It's stupid. I'm sure I did other things, but now I'm all ornery right now. Do we have an email from Chance?
We do have an email from Chance. It's not very long.
All right. He's been shortening them because of you.
No, this one is actually not short because of me.
All right, well, let's put in a jingle and then hear what he has to say.
Right.
And now it's time for the Distracted Gamers podcast listener emails, where Dr. Jason will paraphrase, eviscerate, and with surgical precision, remove all salient points from your feedback, leaving you sounding like a barely literate baboon.
Okay, go for it, Jason.
So, the first one that he shortened because of me, it was like 4 lines long. This one he actually shortens because tomorrow is Free Comic Book Day.
Oh, he asked me if me and Lindsay had plans for that, and my response was, I couldn't give a fart about Free Comic Book Day. And he was excited to go get a free comic book and then take pictures with cosplayers. Right. And I'm like, I'm the last person
who wants to take pictures
to ever
with
want to go to
cosplayers.
one. Yeah, screw those people.
So he starts out asking how we are doing and what we've been up to, which is pretty standard. He says, I will thank baby Jeebus that the action hero bracket has reached its conclusion, and he's waiting, he's full of anticipation for what we're going to replace it with. Something. One more episode until the century mark. He does say that he says that he can scarcely recall what life was like pre-DGP. It was a bleak existence, to be sure. And then he says, speaking of bleak, he had to interview a guy for a part-time position in his department. He says, I hate interviewing people. The whole process is about 90% BS and 10% quasi-relevant chit-chat.
Well, look, to give you a tip, I always thought there were certain things, because I've done a lot of applications, a lot of interviews, that sort of thing. Certain things piss me off about the application process.
Uh-huh.
One, if people put in buzzwords like hard worker, leader, go-getter, synergize, any of those words where it's like they're just words, that's it, they're not actually like mean anything.
Right.
Immediately, my first reaction when I look at it is bullshit. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. Nothing whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just a stupid piece of crap stuff that they put on your application. Second of all, and one thing I actually took from Mark Zuckerberg, I don't think much of the guy.
Right.
I think he just lucked out on a really good idea, and now he's a CEO, not because he was clever or worth being a CEO.
Okay.
But Mark Zuckerberg had this interesting comment that he said when he tries to hire people. He said when he tries to hire people, one rule that he always thought was a good idea that never failed him was he said he'll try and hire people who he would like to work for.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
And if they seem like somebody who's competent, who seems like they know what they're doing, who they would like to work for, who he would like to work for, who has a good personality and good work ethic, then that's, as a rule of thumb, that's probably a good way to go for it. I guarantee... Look, when somebody comes in, especially for a part-time job, I guarantee you they don't want to be there because they're really enthusiastic about your product. They don't care about your company. They're faking it if they are being really enthusiastic. They're there because it's a part-time job. They need the money because supplemental, or they're going to school or whatever.
Right.
Just
it's something to hold them over while they're waiting to get the degree or the qualification so they can get the job they really want.
Right. Don't hire somebody that looks like they might be your friend. That's probably a bad idea. Hire somebody that looks like they'll do the job competently well, and they don't look like an idiot child. Like, if you look at this kid and it's like, oh, this is just some stupid kid, don't hire him.
Right.
It's a bad idea right out the gate. Just be like, yeah. But, rules of thumb for you.
Yeah, the thing, something that I recently noticed about me is that, like, I go into an interview, and when I get done, that's when I realize that I was tense and nervous. Because my body relaxes when I walk out of the interview room. You know what I mean? It's like while I'm in there, I don't notice that like my shoulder muscles are kind of bunching up a bit, and then I'm a little stiff, and then I walk out, and all the tension drains away, and it's like, hey, I didn't realize I was even nervous.
You know what's the problem when I do interviews? I'm too confident.
You're bigger than everybody else there, and you kind of loom over them.
No, not bigger than everybody else there, but it's one of those things where if I don't get the job, it's okay, it's just a job. So I go in and I'm like, how's it going?
Right.
Yeah, this, you know what I mean? I'm not like anxious or this or that. I'm just like, oh yeah, this, you know, I'm not like crazy nervous or anything.
Well, I do remember that time you interviewed for, what was it, an executive assistant position or whatever with that lady? Yeah. And you were like twice her size?
Yes. No, not only that, I was twice her size, but I knew more about computers than she did. And I sat down and I knew not only was I overqualified for it, but being the executive assistant of this lady and being as big as I am, because she was a small blonde chick, I immediately knew the second I walked in, I was like, I'm not getting this job. Because she wants another girl to help her out to work in the back office. She doesn't want some big, scary dude like me to be her sort of subordinate.
Right.
She just wants some chick to help her out. And I guarantee you, the second I walked in, I was like, she's not going to hire me.
Every time she asks you something, what's going to go through her head is he going to eat me?
Yeah. He could strangle me in a second, couldn't he? And I'm like, yes, I can. But I'm not gonna, but I could.
But I could. Just so you know. I could.
Yeah, it's a possibility, but I'm not gonna.
Although if you piss me off enough, the probability goes up.
I mean, it could happen, but it's not going to. Just so you know. Anyway.
Yeah. So he downloaded PT, the playable trailer for the Silent Hill.
Can I just do a correction?
Yeah, go ahead.
In the news since we last talked on the podcast, because of all the confusion, somebody went to Norman Reedus and like, what's going on? Is Silent Hill still going on? And Norman Reedus confirmed, yeah, it's canceled.
Oh, that sucks.
And then Konami had to scramble to figure out what to do or say after that. And they sort of did a half-hearted, like, we're still committed to the brand, we're still going to be making games. But yeah, they confirmed that Silent Hills is absolutely canceled. And for all the effort and programming that gone into it, that's a huge deal. That's a surprising thing.
That is very surprising.
For a big budget, big name thing like that to just be canceled, I've never heard of something to go down like this before. Personally, it's possible it's happened in the industry, but this surprises me. And PT, as big a deal as it is, everybody scrambled to get it because they were pulling it off of the PlayStation market. So yeah, Chance talked about it. He's like, yeah, I grabbed it before they pulled it off, but it was surprising. It was interesting that they even pulled it. Because that's something that should have stuck around, because it in and of itself was a fantastic game, if only short.
That is a surprising move. I mean, if they've got a lot of the code and visuals done...
Well, even just the pre-production stuff, the planning out...
They know the direction they're going.
The artist renderings, like, this is what we want our bad guys to look at, this is a general story outline... All that stuff is hard to do. That could take a couple years to do.
And if they've already got
all of that was mostly done... Oh, yeah, they could program it.
Go forward with this. They don't... I wonder why they... Oh, fuck. I moved it. Sorry. Hold on.
But, yeah, go figure.
It doesn't make any sense why they would cancel this stupid thing.
But, yeah, it's super canceled.
That's weird.
Konami lost the guy who created Metal Gear Solid. Right. Metal Gear Solid was their flagship franchise. And they lost the guy who created Metal Gear Solid. Now, Konami still owns Metal Gear Solid, so you're probably going to see more games.
I wonder if that's a good thing for Metal Gear Solid.
Actually, personally, if they pick the right person for the job, it might be, and I know this is going to sound sacrilegious, because of all the ridiculous Metal Gear Solid fans, and I played the crap out of Metal Gear Solid. The first one... The second one I played a lot of. The third one I played the fourth one twice, despite the fact it was one of the most lackluster ones. I haven't played the newest one, which now I can buy for the PlayStation 4. It's not the newest one. It's not Metal Gear Solid 5, but Ground Zeroes is sort of like that short. It's almost like expansion pack to a game that's not out yet. But the games look really good. I've played a lot of them. I own some of the PSP games that are just not great. Like, I love Metal Gear Solid. I love the stealth stuff. The stories were so convoluted.
Yeah.
So full of themselves. It was like if every single game they were making was trying to be Inception. Like, that's how bad they were so full of themselves. And it's hard to describe really what's going on because they're just so vague and they over-explain. And that's the weird part. They over-explain so much that you
and then you can't figure out what's going on?
Yeah, you actually miss things. It's like they do reveals in an over-explanation. And you miss the relevant information because you start to zone out in the too much explanation. So when you get to the next thing, you're not connecting the dots because it's been explained too much and you stop paying attention. You're like, I don't really care right now.
Get back to the action.
Can I shoot a guy?
Yeah. I don't really care what you're saying.
Yeah, this is why I'm here. I kind of want to shoot a guy. But
what's that line from the Lego Movie?
I don't know.
He says something like, "Okay, I got it, but but I want you to explain it again because I wasn't listening.
Yeah. It's sort of the same thing. It's just long-witted. And as much as I like Kojima and some of the games he's made, he is not gaming Jesus. He is not a brilliant director. He does not make the greatest games ever. Having him on a Silent Hills game is probably the perfect place for him to go because he goes too far and he gets over complex and that sort of thing. Metal Gear, I think it could be refreshed. Now, if they took a completely different direction with it,
No,
I think if they had a good director, it could revitalize it for me at least.
I haven't really been following the whole Kojima thing. Did they say why he was leaving? Or
I don't think anybody really knows, but an internal memo came out with some very unkind things said about Kojima that nobody in Konami intended for it to be released.
Of course not.
So it's a very palpable, definite fallout between the two.
Well, to get back to the email, he was bummed. He's not a big horror survival kind of. That's not really his game. But he played PT and he really liked it. Liked the way it was going.
Unique, yeah.
Yeah. So he's kind of bummed that this one may or may not come back. Like you said, it's been canceled, so as of now, it's not being revived. But it could, if they've got all that stuff, they could still go back and revisit it. Anyway, he says I haven't gotten to geek out much this week in general, but I intend to rectify that tomorrow morning at my local comic shop because it's free comic book day. So he's going to go get some free comics and pics with cosplayers. So, yeah. He's going to be able to attend this year because the guy is opening at 10 instead of 11 and he has to be to work at 11. But he's going to pick up some stuff. He went tonight and bought Batman issue 40 and variant cover Harley Quinn comic for some reason and an issue of Action Comics. I can understand the Action Comics, but Harley Quinn, really? And I would like to take my kids down to the comic shop and get some... You know, it's something that... This seems to me to be something that should be kid-oriented, this free comic book day.
Should be.
And I would love to take my kids. Unfortunately, tomorrow's not possible. I just can't do it. There's just too much stuff going on tomorrow for me to get them down there. But I would really like to get them down there, maybe next year. Let's see.
I'm taking a quiz on IGN of the Avengers Face-Off. Who is your favorite member of the Avengers? And it's just one of those poll questions.
Okay.
And they come up with an answer, and you click on your answer. They come up with two people, and you click on it, and it goes to the next one. So it's like Doctor Strange and Iron Man from Earth 96020. I'm like, Iron Man always, even if it's a weird version. Spider-Woman against Captain Marvel, the Carol Danvers Spider-Woman. Iron Lad versus Stature. I don't know who Stature is, so Iron Lad.
Yeah.
Captain America, Bucky Barnes versus Spider-Woman. As much as I like Captain America, Bucky Barnes version, no. Spider-Woman, yes. Nova and Wiccan. Always Nova over Wiccan. Yeah. Shang-Chi over Marina.
I'd go with Shang-Chi.
I don't know who Marina is. Swordsman and Magdalene.
Swordsman.
Yeah. Iron Man, Earth 96020, and Ant-Man, Hank Pym, Ant-Man. Unless it's legit Iron Man, the legit Iron Man wins. Quasar and Rick Jones.
Quasar.
Yes. Hulk, Bruce Banner, and Wolverine. Wolverine.
Yeah.
Two Gun Kid and Sandman.
Sandman. Don't even know who Two Gun Kid is.
Wiccan and Stature. Stature. Always over anybody named Wiccan.
Seriously.
Anybody is going to beat Wiccan.
Yeah.
Black Widow and Speed. Widow.
Gotta go with the
Rage and Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Rage.
and I don't even know who he is. Hulk, Bruce Banner, Iron Man.
Yeah.
Iron Lad, Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Is it
Captain America? Always Captain America. Thor original, always Thor. Spider-Woman against Tigra, Spider-Woman. Validator versus Miles Morales, Validator. I don't even know who Validator is. Sunfire versus the Falcon, the Falcon.
Yeah.
Silverclaw, Rick Jones. I don't even know who Rick Jones is. It just shows a picture of a dude with a jacket on. He's just some guy.
I think Rick Jones, wasn't he like the Hulk sidekick?
It doesn't say his superhero
something?
name. He's just like Rick. He's like, hey, I'm Bob. I was on the Avengers for like a minute.
Yeah, there you go.
Mr. Fantastic Flux. Anyway, what else did you have to say?
Let's see. Oh, he's A-Bomb. Okay. I kind of know who he is now. Anyway, he's planning to go down there, get some... Oh, I was going to say, Batman, issue 40. He says which the whole internet is exploding over right now. And so I looked it up, because I hadn't heard about this. Evidently, Joker has a quasi-supernatural origin now.
Oh.
Yeah. And according to the article I read, they said it worked, but I'm sitting there going... I guess it's Snyder and what's his name that have been doing the Batman story and art for a while now. And I don't know, it just seems to me like every time they delve more deeply into who Joker is and what made him the Joker,
it's a mistake.
Yeah. You lose some of the mystique around the character, and
absolutely,
and you lose some of the I don't know exactly how to say it. Some of what makes him compelling.
You know why they're doing it? Because they can't find anything interesting more to write, so they have to sort of tread on things that nobody would have touched back then.
So he says that he may get a pic of the cosplayers holding up a sign that says "Suck it, Rhett," posted on Facebook.
If you can get as many of those as you can, that would be
seriously,
awesome.
do it.
I would pick Spider-Man being taken over by Otto Octavius over Miles Morales.
And that was terrible.
Just awful. Okay,
so the last thing he says, other than the hashtag suck it Rhett and hashtag do not pee on my parade Rhett and hashtag kill Aunt May, is the about Jared Leto's Joker. He says, I'm not going to crap all over it till I see it.
Till you see
the Joker
movie.
Is a fictional character after all, and certainly up to interpretation. Not feeling the look, but it could be cool. That's part of who Joker is the look. And
that's fair. That's fair. We don't
Jared
know.
Leto could totally pull off the Joker.
Right, the movie might actually be good, but if I'm going to pick based upon that picture, it is a terrible picture.
Awful.
And it's a terrible look for the Joker. And I heard people go, well, remember when Heath Ledger's Joker, pictures of it came out, everybody was, pissing on that, but look how it turned out. I was like, yeah, but it was still sort of this crazy clown-looking thing. Jared Leto looks sort of like the rebellious teenager who becomes a punk, and less of like the clown prince of crime. He's more like, man, my parents just don't understand me.
Yeah.
I'm going to get some tattoos. I'm going to get a tattoo on my forehead, I kid you not, that says damaged. This is like a kid that becomes a juggalo rather than is the actual Joker. Hey, it's like, hey, look, it's a juggalo.
He would not be out of place at the Juggalos. What is their who are they with? The evil clown posse or whatever it is? Insane Clown Posse. He would not look out of place at an Insane Clown Posse concert.
You know what's the weird thing about the Insane Clown Posse?
What's that?
They flat out admitted, because they sort of had weird sort of lyrics, because it's a lot of screaming and dressing up like idiots and that sort of thing. But they flat out admitted that they were just sort of doing this ridiculous stuff and they're really super Christian, and a lot of their lyrics, if you listen, is like sharing their beliefs and stuff. And they're just stupid.
That's awesome.
But I thought it was hilarious when I heard of that, because I was like, wow. Wow. I'm always 100% classic Avengers team. If any of these ever pop up where I'm like, oh, what's that? I usually go for classic Avengers members.
Totally agree with you there.
Over like Mantis, whoever she is.
Well, that's the end of his email. Thanks, Chance, for the email. We always enjoy those.
Yeah, if you get as many of those pictures as we can, if you do, for episode 100, and we'll put them all over the Facebook or whatever.
So I looked up Rick Jones. Evidently his abilities are expert acrobat and hand-to-hand combatant, and self-taught folk and rock and roll singer and guitarist. Yeah.
Nice.
Evidently he does have a superhero identity. He was at one time a superhero called A-Bomb. And he was a teenage version of the Hulk, evidently. So
they had, for a picture of the Invisible Woman, Sue Storm, they had nobody's picture on there. It was just blank. I was like, oh, I see what you did there.
Oh, he also was at one time bonded with Captain Marvel, and they switched places. Like when he was Rick Jones, Captain Marvel was somewhere else. When he was Captain Marvel, Rick Jones was somewhere else. So yeah, he's been in and through the Avengers, but Rick Jones, downvote him as often as possible.
Oh yeah, Miles Morales as much as possible. Too. I mean, this is just straight up like I don't know who you are. Picking Captain America over Wolverine, Power Woman over Star Fox, Sandman over Pod. I don't know who Pod is. Iron Man over War Machine. Absolutely. Yeah. Beast over Scarlet Witch. Now Scarlet Witch.
I think I'd have to
Daredevil over Mantis.
To think that one through a little bit more. I don't really like the Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch was definitely on the Avengers team for a while. Beast was like temporary. More X-Men, yeah. You're right.
So I always go for classic members. And I hate it when I pick one of these, it's like, only this many people agreed with you. It's screw you. Okay, so Iron Man versus Thor. Iron Man, I would say, over Thor, as far as classic. Because this is like 100% two original members. Let's see how many people agree with my choice of Iron Man. 54% of people agreed with me. Alright. Captain America Sam Wilson over Iron Lad Captain America. Anyway, we have the news dump. I could probably keep clicking on these for another hour. But I'm getting bored right now. I don't know who Gilgamesh is.
Yeah, well, I know historically who Gilgamesh was, and or I shouldn't say historically, but mythically.
Right.
But yeah.
Right, but not. Yeah. Let's put in the news dump section here, and then see what we have to talk about
Sounds
for
good.
News and junk.
The Distracted Gamer Podcast. Big steaming pile of news dump.
Alright, despite all of the drama going on in, Baltimore, we have got actual news. Well, not actual news. We've got inconsequential news, despite rioting and stuff going on locally in this country. That probably dates it a bit, but whatever. Whatever. Anyway, let's see if I can't find anything relevant on Kotaku. Most of this isn't relevant. Somebody got a hold of... Apparently Microsoft made this app that can allegedly try and check your age and tell you how old a person is based upon a photo or how they assess the photo. So what they did was they took the photos of a bunch of different video game characters and put them on it to see how it assessed how old these video game characters are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Lots of pictures of Nathan Drake. Like, just all over the place from all the different video games. And it runs the gamut of age. Okay, so one picture he's 36. The other one he's 39. The other one he's 31. Next one he's 37. Then 36. That one he's 50. Then he's 37, 38. That one he's 46 for some reason. That one he's 30. One where he's young, early teens. Says he's 24. 36, 40, 58.
Makes you wonder how they built this app and what the artists, what their criteria was for, say, a teenager.
Somebody put a picture of Johnny Quest on there and it says 74.
It's awesome.
Gave Link 20 years old. Princess Peach 5.
She's 5 years old?
Yeah. Lara Croft 28, then 32. Mike Myers 64.
That's funny.
Interesting. It's a picture of Mike Myers' face. Mike Myers wears that mask.
Right. Wasn't that like a William Shatner mask?
I don't know. Could be. Doesn't look like him as far as I can tell. Anyway, Kotaku and more irrelevant stuff. Somebody wrote... So, there's another cosmic editorial event coming to the DC Universe. No, not the convergence that's happening now. Another one that they're calling the Dark Side War. Yes, they do that kind of thing a lot. Weirdly, the latest issue of DC Comics' premiere Super Team book holds a bit of meta commentary that apparently concedes that they probably go to that particular narrative too much.
It was the dark
and
what?
The Dark Side War
with Dark Side.
Yeah, I assume so. Yeah. But apparently they sort of admit in the comic that this happens too much. Like, just a whole super war against everybody.
Right.
Anyway.
I just looked it up. Mike Myers' mask was, in fact, let's see, a Shatner mask.
Huh. I would have thought. Yeah. PT is down. Should be down by now, as far as I know. So you just can't get the demo anymore, or at least the prequel. Not even prequel, the trailer to a game that everybody was excited for. With Norman Reedus. Stupid stories on Kotaku. These are all just garbage. I don't even know who Moondragon is.
I do. Bald chick with telepathic abilities.
Yeah, the bald chick. I just don't know her.
I think she might be an alien. Anyway.
They're all freaking aliens. Who freaking cares? That's the only story, like, whenever they're trying to create something interesting, they always have to go to, like, who's an alien or something. It's like half of the people on Earth now are aliens.
Seriously.
For crying out loud.
Aliens coming here and taking our superhero jobs.
That pisses me off about the Joker. That really pisses me off. I've lost confidence in DC now. Where am I supposed to go when Marvel, loses me and now DC loses it? Where am I supposed to go? Banjo-Kazooie's spiritual successor, started by, I believe, the guys who made Banjo-Kazooie and weren't able to make a new one the way they wanted to, immediately got funded when it got posted on Kickstarter. Apparently...
I saw something about this earlier.
Apparently it's over 1 million now, but at the time of this thing, it was at like 350,000 fairly quickly. let's see. What do we got here on the news? Twitter prohibits game and betting. A mere few days after it's discovered that MS-DOS games on the Internet Archive could be embedded into tweets, Twitter has decided to disable it. Much to the chagrin of people playing games on Twitter, according to a report, the ability to embed games in tweets violates Twitter's terms and conditions. Do not build an end-to-end interactive experience inside the video or audio player unrelated to player card content, such as the following: purchasing, gaming, polling, messaging, data entry. Instead, build these interactive experiences with our other card types, or enhance your player card content with links to your website or mobile application. I think that's legit. They don't want people doing a bunch of additional stuff in Twitter, like trying to do immediate polling or gaming or anything. Just put a link and send somebody to your website. It's just Twitter. Try not to spam it. Anyway, H1Z1 finally adds a default female character. I don't really care, but it's finally, I guess. Apparently a bunch of females want to use the default female character. I guarantee you they're looking at usage, and they're looking at it and going, oh yeah, we finally did this to appease people. We made a bunch of work into creating the model, and 12% of people actually use it. I guarantee you they're going to look at that and go, oh, nobody actually uses it, despite all our effort. For political correctness and what have you. Xbox Live Gold is free this weekend. That really matters, but I haven't played Xbox Live for a long time now. Bungie sells Destiny t-shirts to benefit the Nepal earthquake relief efforts, which is pretty cool of them. Of course, this is sort of like that PR stunt where it's just trying to get people to feel better. It's like, oh yeah, you're a great company or whatever because you're donating 5% of proceeds to disaster relief in some place, and it might not even get there. Ultimately, all said and done, we'll buy them one, I don't know, styrofoam cup that doesn't biodegrade very well.
Donate 1%.
So here's a stupid story I saw. I don't know, a poll on a website. Hillary Clinton has long espoused some rather negative attitudes toward violent video games and violent media in general, and in 2005 she joined the chorus of people condemning Rockstar for the hot coffee mod that unlocked an otherwise inaccessible and unfinished interactive yet non-explicit sex scene in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Later that year she introduced the Family Entertainment Protection Act, which, like Leland Yee's failed California law, attempted to criminalize selling particularly violent video games to minors. All such legislation either never passed or was shot down on unconstitutional grounds. Yes, you read that right. All of them, every single one. But she continued to push for such bills years later. Well, now that she's going for the presidency for 2016, is this going to affect her popularity or the campaign in any way? Absolutely, 100%, without a doubt, no. No. See, this is one thing they make a mistake, because people look at the numbers and go, oh man, if you count old women who play solitaire on their computer, it's 90% of 90% of the population is gamers or whatever. Whatever. Even if you don't include them, you include the actual gamers. Gamers don't give a fart about anything. They're not a united front of concerned citizens. They're not a social group trying to exact change or justice upon the rest of the world. They don't get together to try and help one another out. They don't do things to assist the rest of the world. Gamers is doing that is like saying, well, people who watch movies, a lot of people watch movies, doesn't mean that they're a united group of people who give a flying fart. And gamers classically are more lazy than the average person because they play too many video games.
Right.
I know that's a cliche, but I would say average, you're probably more likely to be lazy if you're a committed gamer who plays a lot. But none of these people are going to band together and give a flying fart about the election because I guarantee you most of them don't care.
Right. The thing is that they will band together in extreme circumstances, but Hillary Clinton running for president is not an extreme circumstance.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though. I don't even know what extreme circumstance that would be.
Right. It's hard to say. I mean, if there was a credible threat against their violent video games that, and their ability to play video games.
None of it's going to mean anything, because nobody cares. Even if it's gamer or whatever, nobody cares until it affects you. Until it comes into your home. Like, they won't pay attention to voting, they won't pay attention to a bill being passed, and they won't pay attention until it starts to hurt them. That very moment, they're like, hey, how'd this happen? I was like, you could have paid attention all along that line to what people were saying and trying to do, and now you give a flying fart. Like, you don't care. You don't care, and this is a classic, this is an American thing, this isn't a gamer thing. And it's not going to mean anything to the election. And asking this question is asinine. It's a waste of freaking time.
It's when they say, that 90% of Americans are gamers, which they aren't.
Well, that's just a number I threw out. I don't know what it is.
No, this is exactly the same thing. It's just a number I'm throwing out. The reason that they're saying that the number of gamers is so high is because they're taking into consideration these grannies that are playing solitaire or mothers that are playing smartphone games. They're not really gamers. They're people who play video games, but that's not the same thing as being a gamer. Well, those people aren't going to be affected in any way by a bill that outlaws violent video games.
Well, it does. The goal isn't to outlaw; it's to criminalize selling to minors violent video games.
Right, but again,
because they can't outright outlaw violent video games. It's against the law because it's freedom of speech or whatever. But they could criminalize selling it.
Right, but those people that they're pulling in as gamers aren't going to be affected by this in any way.
Unless they're not underage and they're buying it.
Right, but they're not the ones that are buying violent video games. They're the ones that are playing some social game on their on their smartphone. They don't care because it doesn't affect them. It's the minors that are down in their parents' basement playing Call of Duty and that are going to get upset about this, and they can't vote anyway.
Well, what's that classic poem from Martin? It's Martin Niemöller or something like that.
Couldn't tell you. It doesn't sound familiar.
He was sort of a activist and a guy. I think he lived in Nazi Germany. Anyway, he had this poem that he wrote that sort of classically. This is way too much for the gaming community, but this specifically addresses sort of the attitude that exists in this country. And he said, when the Nazis came for the communists, I remained silent. I was not a communist. When they locked up the social democrats, I remained silent. I was not a social democrat. When they came for the trade unionists, I did not speak out. I was not a trade unionist. When they came for the Jews, I remained silent. I wasn't a Jew. When they came for me, there was no one left to speak out. And that defines how we see things.
Right.
Nobody cares until it comes home. You should care about other people's rights, especially if you find it abhorrent, because in the process you're protecting yourself.
Exactly.
But nobody's going to care until it comes to their doorstep.
See, that's the thing. They don't necessarily see that they're in danger at that point. Because it's affecting someone else.
Yeah, and that's how everything goes. So video game, will it affect her election? No. Unless she comes out like rampant, like attacking straight on, nobody's even going to remember her stance on video games. Nobody's going to give a flying fart. And it's not going to affect her election. Even if it did, even if she came out rampant, just foaming at the mouth, you know how much that might affect her percentage-wise? I would say like 3%. Like, that's how much, at most, and that we're talking militant gamers out there running the streets.
Right, but if she came out foaming at the mouth, other people might be turned off by such a performance and would drop out of
they might even cheer her. That's the problem.
Yeah, that could be true as well.
I doubt anybody's really going to get turned off by it. I think it's just another one of those causes. Everybody has to care about something. Everybody's got to be like, oh, we got to do something. If you consider yourself a social justice warrior, me and you don't like each other immediately. Because you're trying to force justice on society that's not necessary, because I don't care if people say inappropriate things to me, if people have inappropriate opinions. I want the law to stand and affect everybody, not just people that I care about.
Right.
Stop being a douchebag. Anyway, I'm serious. That stuff pisses me off. So Florida Supreme Court has upheld the 2006 conviction of Jerome Hunter for his part in what is commonly referred to as the notorious Xbox murders. The court heard the case in October of last year. Jerome Hunter was one of 4 men convicted of brutally murdering 6 people in Deltona, Florida home in 2004. The case drew national attention and was dubbed the Xbox murders because it involved a dispute over personal belongings, which included Xbox video game system. 4 men were accused of torturing and killing 4 men, 2 women, and a dog in 2004.
So
Hunter was convicted for his role in the killing spree and was sentenced to death in 2006. He was found guilty on 6 counts of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit aggravated battery, tampering with evidence, abuse of a corpse, and armed burglary. Co-defendant Troy Victorino was also sentenced to death by lethal injection, but 2 other defendants, Robert Cannon and Michael Salas, were sentenced to life in prison. In its ruling, the Supreme Court rejected Hunter's argument that his defense at its 2006 trial was inadequate and the Florida's death penalty statutes are unconstitutional. It is unclear if Jerome's legal team will attempt to take the matter to the highest court in the land. Go ahead.
Oh, boy. Bunch of morons.
You were going to say something? Oh.
No.
All right. Gamer X, we're calling Gamer X the stupid convention that seems weirdly exclusionist and mostly about gay people, is teaming up with the organizers of FlameCon to bring developers to the one event this summer in Brooklyn, New York, New York's first LGBTQ+. What's the Q+ now? Curious?
Possibly.
This has gotten stupid. This has gotten stupid. Didn't we have this debate once before?
We did.
Well, I was like, why in the crap is there a Q+? And then you looked it up, and then I was like, I don't care. Right. Comic-Con FlameCon takes place June 13th, Grand Prospect Hall in Brooklyn. Why does this care? Why do we care? I want people to make good video games and not to cater to one group or another. Did you know...
Actually, I kind of know why.
Why?
I was listening to... I was listening to Rush Limbaugh, and so this is going to be biased anyway. But they did a study, and they asked, like the people who were 35 and under, I think it was, what the percentage of the population was gay, lesbian, whatever.
Oh, yeah, this is new, yeah.
Yeah. They came up with like 30%. And Rush Limbaugh's like, there is no way it's that high.
No.
And his guess was like it was 10 or something like that. Or, that's kind of was my guess as well. He looked up the number from the latest Gallup poll. It's like 2.3% of our country.
It's
way low.
Ridiculously low how many people are actually gay. The perception of people who think how many people are gay out there as 30% is unsurprising. Yeah. Most people, when I ask them what the percentage of, let's say, black people in this country is, a lot of people will say something like 30%. Uh-huh. It's like 11 or 13 or something like that.
But see, we get this skewed perspective from the media, which introduces, different races or different orientations or whatever. And so our perception is that it's higher from the media than it actually is. And so that's why they're doing all this crap with GamerX and FlameCon and all that crap, is because people think that there's actually more than there actually are. And that we need to be catering to them when actually we don't.
You know what I want? I want people to be human beings. I don't want people to be labeled, to be like, oh, well, there's that gay guy over there, or there's that, he's black, or he's Mexican, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, I want to be defined by being an individual. Wasn't the goal originally that the content of the character was more important? Why do we really have to do... You want to know an interesting fact?
Go ahead.
When people came to Ellis Island...
Uh-huh.
Some of the original stuff when people first came to this country, before the census ever actually existed, nobody actually cared or actually tallied or really put down what somebody's race was.
Okay.
The country didn't keep track of the amount of people of different races who were in the country. Nobody cared. And it wasn't until progressives in this country put together some of the first censuses. Well, it wasn't the first census, because a census has been around since the beginning of the country. It wasn't until like the early 1900s that they actually started to tally races.
Right.
Then it became a really big deal how many races were in the country, this, and that. And I think a lot of that was affected by sort of the social engineering attitude of the time. They wanted to control who was doing this, or how many of this sort of population and that sort of thing. Because stuff like eugenics,
that was huge.
The stronger races and that sort of thing at that time was a big deal. And it sort of pisses me off that not only that exists, but we should care. Like, nobody cared how many black people were in the country. Nobody cared besides the people who were really racist cared.
Right.
But they just hated black people. They didn't care how many. It's like, do we really have to start tallying people down? Do you really have to be like, well, that gay person? I was like, that's Bob. He's just Bob. He could be a person. Can't we just be people? Can't we just be human beings and stop trying to sexualize each other? Stop trying to define ourselves. Gay people constantly want to be situated and have their status be like everybody else, but then they constantly try and advertise what they are as being different. It's like, I'm gay, and I was like, okay, that's fine. I don't really agree with homosexuality. No, you have to accept me. I was like, no, I accept you as a human being. You can be a human being. No, you have to not only accept me, you have to embrace the fact that I like gay men. I like dudes and dudes' penises. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like, it's okay if I don't like it. Why can't it be okay? You know what's one thing? People constantly talk about tolerance,
right? And
I'm all for tolerance, but you got to tolerate different races, genders, sexual orientation, whatever it happens to be. But you completely are unallowed. It's like you have to tolerate people. Okay. Well, I disagree with you on this. You're not allowed to disagree. You have to tolerate everything, but you can't tolerate differing opinions. Right. You're not allowed to disagree on it.
That's
BS.
This actually kind of reminds me of a Calvin and Hobbes comic I read recently, where and the comic is about bubblegum, but I think it applies because he was talking about how he needs to record his stats for bubblegum so that he can chew, because he's like, I don't know that I'm getting my full satisfaction. I need to be chewing harder and longer and all this other stuff. And Hobbes asks him, he says, why do you feel the need to attach a number to everything? And he's like, well, without the numbers, how would I know that I'm winning?
I guess too.
And it's like, I feel it applies to this situation because it's like, we've got to attach numbers to everything so that we will know that we are winning. It's like, really? You sound like my 3-year-old who has to be the first one in the car every day.
Jason, it's a cultural thing, honestly, as far as America's concerned. I had a professor who worked for the CIA who used to give this speech to a lot of high government officials that talked about the cultural difference with Americans versus other groups. Okay. And she said one of the perfect examples is when you go to the national the national park areas, national areas in DC, in front of like the Lincoln Memorial and stuff, and you listen to how people ask questions to the
tour guides.
The tour guides, because frequently what people ask questions is how tall is it, how many bricks is a question that'll be asked, how many steps inside the Washington Monument, how long is it, how wide is it, how much time did it take to make? Right. And then you'll get a European in there, and the European will be like, why is it an obelisk? And the person running the thing will be like, I don't know. Because that's how we approach things. America's very numerical, very quantitative as opposed to qualitative when it comes to that sort of thing. And it's just a cultural difference. Some more stories to throw in here before we finish off. Senator Rand Paul introduces a resolution of disapproval this week that declares the FCC new policy shall have no force or effect. The resolution is clearly identical to what Doug Collins introduced in the House of Representatives earlier this month. Here's what Senator Paul...
What do they call it? A resolution of discontent?
Stated. No, well, that's what they call of disapproval. And so that the new policy shall have no force or effect. So even if it's a new policy, you won't actually be able to enforce it. Providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5, United States Code of the rules submitted by Federal Communications Commission Regulation Broadband Internet Access, resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that Congress disapproves the rule submitted by the Federal Communications Commission related to regulating broadband Internet access, and such rule shall have no force or effect. Paul also released a statement earlier this week about his opposition to the new net neutrality rules approved by the Federal Communications Commission at the end of February meeting. This regulation by the FCC is a textbook example of Washington's desire to regulate anything and everything, and will do nothing more than wrap the Internet in red tape. The Internet has successfully flourished without heavy hand of the government interference. Stated simply, I do not want to see the government regulating the Internet. Yeah. I agree. The libertarian-leaning Republican who is taking a run at Republican nomination, blah, 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 blah. It'll be interesting to see how this either hurts or helps Paul. Nobody cares. The FCC voted to approve new net neutrality rules at the end of February to reclassify broadband and mobile providers as common carriers under Title II of the Telecommunications Act. To ban several industry practices, including paid prioritization, banning certain types of traffic, and throttling connections. Several trade groups and ISPs have lined up to sue the FCC. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway. Valve gives Steam developers the control of the ban hammer, or the ability to ban players. Under a newly developed deployed system, developers have full authority to ban players, ultimately taking the burden off of Steam. The new system gives developers oversight and responsibility to ban cheating or disruptive players as they see fit. I think that's actually a good thing. But yeah.
Well, it takes it off.
Let them control their game. If you don't like it,
it takes it off. It takes the responsibility off of Steam. They don't need that aggravation. It should be up to the...
No, they don't have enough time. Steam is run by like 20 guys. I mean, come on. They don't have time to just deal with that crap. Most of this stuff they try and do is to try and make it as automated as possible. PS4 lifetime sales surpass 22.3 million.
Wow.
Which is, they're freaking selling it. Lifetime global sales of PlayStation 4 have surpassed 22.3 million according to Eurogamer.
That's
Sony notes
units,
that these numbers, break down to around 44,000. That's got to be money then. 44,600 units sold every day since its launch in November of 2014. So it's 22.3 million units, not money. Which also notes that 12 months prior to ending March 31st, the company sold 14.8 million. Looking ahead, the company expects to sell an additional 16 million units by the end of March 31st, 2016. Things aren't so rosy when it comes to Sony's handheld device. Combined sales with PSP and Vita during the same 12-month period, 3.3 million units. Down from 4.1 million units sold the year before. I actually like the Vita If it was marked down, I'd buy one.
They look nice.
I like it. They're nice. I've played with the one that Lindsay has. I think they're great. I think they're great consoles. I don't care about that story. Spiderweb Software is completely done with iOS. They're no longer releasing stuff on Apple. Apparently because they hate the way that Apple handles updates. Programming for Apple devices has, for the last 20 years, I've been doing it, been a continuous hassle. Apple constantly makes the old code obsolete, forcing programmers to relearn and revise everything constantly. Sometimes these changes lead to better devices and software. Other times it's just obnoxious with no gain for developers or users. Apple doesn't care. I suspect that Apple would be ecstatic if 90% of game developers disappear overnight.
Probably. Apple has always seemed like a
money.
company that just doesn't care and doesn't. It's like, they just.
It's that whole attitude of being top dog, and when you're top dog, you're like, I don't give a fart. I'm going to change stuff, and what are you going to do? It's like how Microsoft dealt with the Xbox One.
Right.
They came out and said, you know what? We're going to track how you do things. When you play a game, it's going to attach to your console. You won't be able to trade or sell or whatever. It always has to be online, and everyone's like, we don't like this. They're like, you know what? Screw you. We're going to do it anyway.
Exactly.
They're like, we don't care. We're top dog. You're going to buy our crap. We could take a dump in a box and put Xbox One on it, and you will purchase it. And guess what?
They went and bought PS4s.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? We actually have another option, and we're going to go get that one. And they're like, what? Like, we thought you'd buy anything we make. And see, that's the funniest thing about the free market.
Uh-huh.
When somebody creates something that just blows, and somebody makes something better, if you have another option, you buy another option.
Right.
When one company dominates certain areas of the market, it stops being a free market, stops being capitalism, and it starts to be sort of, it's a monopoly, but in a overarching controlling situation. Anyway, ESPN's Colin Cowherd, host of The Herd on ESPN Radio, had a few less than flattering things to say about Sunday's ESPN2 coverage of Blizzard Entertainment's Hero of the Storm tournament. Despite the fact that no one has asked him to comment on video game tournaments, Cowherd made it clear that he would quit ESPN and retire to a rural fishing village to sell bait before he would subject himself to what he calls the equivalent of putting a gun in his mouth. He also trotted out the classic nerds in their mother's basement stereotype.
Seriously,
I think
it's ESPN. It's a sports network. This video game tournament is crap. It's not a sport, people.
First of all, the nerds in their mother's basement is not... It happens more than people think. Second of all, I am a gamer 100%. This is a gaming podcast. Mostly it's nerdy, whatever, but it's mostly games. I 100% agree. At no point should they be covering video game competitions on ESPN. ESPN is realizing that more people care to watch stupid video game stuff than they really care to watch ESPN football or some soccer game, which is unfortunate. I would prefer, as a gamer, I would prefer that people glorify and praise those who train, make a physical effort, and excel at some athletic event than ever praise anybody who ever plays a video game for competition. I would prefer children watch professional shot putting competitions than watch any professional video game. Yeah, totally. 100%. And I've seen some very compelling video game competitions, and I would 100% prefer people actually praise physical, athletic competition and overcoming adversity.
I'd rather play the game than watch somebody else play it. I mean...
Oh, 100%. Ouya is in a desperate search to find a buyer, according to exclusive report in Fortune. The report cites a leaked email from Ouya CEO Julie Ehrman, in which she explains to company advisors and investors how dire the financial situation is for the micro-console maker. That's unfortunate. I think I kind of secretly hoped that the Ouya worked out. I thought it was a clever idea, but this sort of thing, I doubt it's going to be able to survive out this stuff. But yeah,
it's not really a viable competitor against what's out there.
No. So that's the thing, though. PS4, despite the fact that Ouya was doing the PS4, some things that the PS4 wasn't doing, you could super just adapt the PS4 to do what the Ouya does. Shoot, a PC does what the Ouya does.
See, maybe that's what they need to do, is turn Ouya into a software thing, and so people can download the Ouya platform onto their computer, and then...
What, and then just try and compete directly with Steam? Come on.
Well, might as well.
Well, the idea was to be able to play mobile games, mostly Android games, on your television. But people don't want to do that. The attraction of Android games is to sit and play it while you're farting on the toilet.
Exactly.
Not sit down in front of your TV and play, super tiny video game. Anyway, GameStop hopes to raise $500,000 to Make-A-Wish in 2015. Good luck to them. I actually am quite a fan of Make-A-Wish Foundation. Minecraft finally gets default female character skin. Who cares? Good for them, I guess. There's probably a lot of girls that play it. I think there are probably a lot of girls
that play it. My daughter loves Minecraft.
Is it really that big a deal? Second of all, people have been able to mod their own skins into Minecraft for a long time, so default skin is not as big a deal, but whatever. There's some anonymous news, but I don't care. New York congressman introduces anti-swatting act today. Good luck with that. You're probably going to get swatted. And we're going to end with another potentially robbery-inducing violent story about stolen consoles. An Atlanta teen was severely burned by two men because they believed he stole a PlayStation 3.
Wow.
According to Atlanta-based news station WSB-TV, 17-year-old Damon Clay was asleep on a relative's couch when 19-year-old Quintavious Barber, what a name, and 18-year-old Malik Moten, who are these people? Supposedly his friends attacked him after accusing him of stealing a PlayStation 3. The duo allegedly dumped a boiling hot pot of rice on Clay while he slept. Now Clay is in the hospital with burns covering 70% of his body. Doctors were forced to put Clay in a medically induced coma, according to the report. Barber and Moten each faced charges including aggravated assault and cruelty to a child. He was 17. I doubt I would add cruelty to a child to that list.
But he's underage.
I know, but there is 19, 18, and 17. The vast differences in ages here is not enough to be like, cruelty to a child. I would add potentially not just aggravated assault, but I don't know, even almost attempted manslaughter or something.
Yeah.
But not cruelty to a child. That's stretching it. If he was 14, maybe.
You're right. It is stretching it to say cruelty to a child. I think they're just trying to nail him for everything that they can.
Yeah, well, if they were 40 and they did it to a 17-year-old, then fine. But they're all about the same age, and they're all friends. So it's like an 18-year-old punching a 17-year-old. Is it cruelty to a child? No. We're talking a difference of a few months as it to him being adult. If it was a 40-year-old just beating the crap out of a 17-year-old, I would let it go. I'd be like, you could do that. That's fine. But you know what I mean. Like, that's how I would approach this stupid thing. Clay was scheduled to be taken off ventilator so he could have surgery, according to the report. It's just stupid kids being obsessed with stupid stuff. Look, you guys. Video games are fun. A lot of our time gets too spent wrapped around them. And for somebody like me who enjoys video games as much as I do, I also enjoy other things in life. And when I make video game accomplishments, those mean less to me than when I make personal accomplishments in my daily life. I'm more proud of the personal... I'm more proud of the person I am than about having beaten a boss in a video game. And you should be more proud of those sorts of things. This is entertainment.
Right.
This is media that you consume perhaps on a regular basis or very constantly. But just remember, it's not worth risking anything over. And it's really easy to just call the cops in this stupid situation.
Yeah.
You become a more rounded person if you let a lot of this nonsense pass by. Or stop being so obsessed with video games. You know? Perhaps do that.
There you go.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We're going to get out of here. Thanks for hanging out with us. We probably went a little long. What are we at? 119.
Yep.
But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We'll be rolling in for Part B, where Jason just controls the heck out of that thing.
Yeah.
And we'll see you on episode 100.
I do so well at that, don't you think? Anyway.
Super well. Thanks for hanging out with us. We will see you guys next time. Leave them with something, Jason.
Well, come back for episode 100. We'll see what we can do to make it a life-threatening experience for you. And
instead of life-changing, this is a life-threatening experience.
Exactly.
Like, you will be worried about your safety.
Well, that's what we're here for,
Guaranteed.
Right?
Guaranteed.
All right.
Perhaps listening to this podcast is maybe lethally stupid?
There you go. It's actually forcing your brain to think about committing suicide without you even knowing it. Not
anyway.
like you committing suicide, your brain committing suicide.
You ever see those studies when they talked about how playing video games literally changes your brain's makeup and that it functions differently?
Right.
And then a doctor came out and said, yeah, that's true, but reading a book also changes how your brain functions.
Right.
So I'm not too worried about it. And I was like, touche, more intelligent doctor.
There you go. So don't do anything lethally stupid, and remember, the internet, whatever that says, it may or may not be true.
Probably is.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Distracted Gamers podcast. If you like the show, follow Rhett and Jason, the world's two most lethally stupid internet personalities, on Twitter at DG Podcast, or check them out at www.thedistractedgamers.com. If you loved or hated what you've heard here, email them at thedistractedgamers.blogspot.com and share your feelings. Not that Jason will care, since he hasn't any, of course.